Welcome to Bigger Than You, the podcast to help you go from overwhelm, self-doubt and scarcity in your business to the calm, grounded and unshakably confident version of you that's going to bring your vision to life. You've got a mission and a purpose that's bigger than you and your limiting stories and beliefs. So let's get you out of your own way. I'm Jenna Holloway, your host and multi-award-winning intuitive hypnotherapist and mindset coach. Expect to hear game-changing perspective shifts on how to align your subconscious mind with your boldest goals, and will unlock the power of energetics, infusing it into every aspect of your life and business for maximum impact. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'm really excited to bring a guest on the show today. My guest and I had a really fantastic conversation as an IG live, maybe a month or so ago, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was such a good conversation. And so I just said, Rachel, come on the podcast. We've got so much more to say together and to share. And so yeah, let me introduce Rachel. Rachel Pearson is an ex-luxury marketing executive and now accredited business coach and mentor. She helps coaches, consultants, and service providers to elevate their positioning, messaging, and sales with authenticity so that they attract more ready-to-invest, high-ticket clients. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
We were just saying before we hit record, how do we go about, like, we've got so much to say here, but what's the hook to bring people into this conversation? And yeah, do you want to share it?
Yeah, so we were thinking of a starting point, weren't we? And I was saying that one of the questions that I get asked, probably, I think it is the question I get asked the most, is how do I get seen? And you know, that's coming from a place of it's so noisy out there on social media and these like a gazillion things that I can be trying. But often that question comes from this heaviness of creating content, like feeling like I need to check the boxes of being on all the platforms. And it just it means that content feels like such a chore, which then means that actually you're not excited to get your message out. And so I was just saying to you about how that often starts with a mindset shift, like of firstly around the choice that we get to actually share our message out there. So instead of I have to create content, which feels so heavy all the time, of that choice of we have these free platforms to be able to share our message, like share how we help people, share what we do. And also that it's not so much about creating content, it's about sharing an experience. Like, I think that is the biggest shift I would invite people to think about, is rather than thinking, oh, I have to post on Facebook today, or I haven't got my Instagram post out, like, what's the experience that you want to share with people? What do you want people to walk away with thinking, whoa, I just heard this live from Jenna and it made me feel this way? And that's what I would focus on more.
Yes, I knew this conversation was going to be so good because we're like, what I share and what you share is so like beautifully aligned in the sense that it's all about alignment and connection, and like the mindset behind what you do is so important because of everything that you've just said. If you're coming at it from a lack mindset, content is going to feel heavy. You're going to feel like it's so noisy out there, and how do I stand out? And actually, when we work on our mindset, we get to a place where we're like, right, I have something really valuable to share and I'm excited to share that. It's about really getting back to that root and that connection to yourself first, isn't it? And I love what you said about what did you say? What was that last thing? My mind's just gone blank.
About sharing an experience.
Yeah, sharing an experience, because our subconscious is filtering everything all the time and deciding how we're feeling as we are consuming content. And so 100% it makes so much sense, because your subconscious is the one that's making 95% of all of your decisions. So when content feels good, we feel the energy behind that, we're going to keep reading. And of course, like, there's strategy behind, like, have a decent hook so somebody will actually stop scrolling. But it's how you make them feel that makes them open the email or read, like, go and search for you on stories if you're not there, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just a really simple thing that you can do is often we like open our phone in the morning, and like you said, like your subconscious is kind of biased towards looking at, oh, maybe the numbers that you've got, like the follower numbers or the engagement that happened on your last post. And then one question that I'd suggest you do instead is just like think, okay, what is somebody, if somebody's coming to my profile for the first time, what are they feeling from that, from what I just shared? How do they see that I can help them? Like, what is the value they're taking away? And also ask somebody else to do that that's not you. Like, if somebody's coming to your profile, like, what are 3 words that they'd use to describe it? Like, take your mind away from the numbers or the lack of numbers that we often focus on, and really, because it just takes one person, right, to feel that and then get into your DMs and want to know how to work with you. And that's where we want to focus our attention more.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. So like actionable straight away. Just so what would you recommend? Ask somebody, what do they feel? What was the other?
Yeah, ask 3 people. It could be your existing clients, or it could be people like peer group, like somebody that's peer to you. If they came to a profile, what are 3 words that they would describe, like 3 words that they'd give to you to just describe what they're taking away from your Instagram profile, and also what the feeling is, like what's the experience that they're getting just from saying it? Because we have like seconds, right, to engage people, and so we just want to be getting their really spontaneous reaction to what
Mm,
they're feeling and seeing.
I love that so much. How have you seen, if have you do, is that something you get your clients to do?
It is, yeah. So they like I do, Instagram. I do social media audits all the time for my clients. Like it's one of the first things that we do. But before we do it, I ask for them to go and do this with other people, because like I will obviously I'm trying to come at it from a place of I don't know you, I'm coming in as your client. But the best way to do that is to get people that, are your clients already or are, potentially going to come in and work with you. So yeah, that's something that I ask all my clients to do.
Brilliant. And what have you found? So when they've done that exercise and they've come back to you, what comes up?
So it can be really a reinforcement of that is what I'm going for, and that's amazing. But sometimes even in that case, it's the language that people are using, because then that starts to give us an indication of the language we can actually be using in your messaging. So, for example, if I had a client who got feedback that it was very bold and it was empowering, and that really gave her, not that you need permission, but it almost gave her subconscious permission to be bolder with her opinions and really start speaking in a way that felt very freeing to do, because that was already there, right? And it was about then fully expressing it. And then other ways that it can come through is just a real not misinterpretation, but somebody else is taking something away that you do not intend. And it's so important that we understand that. And I'm always researching, like for my own business, how, what words do people use to describe me? Why did my clients come in to work with me? Like, because it's shifting, and it's the nuances. Like, you really want to be understanding what are the small things that people take away, what are the words that they're using, because that's what you can use in your messaging and your marketing.
Yeah, I love that so much when somebody else has seen something that is an element of your personality that, like you say, is almost like the permission slip, and then you're like, okay, cool, I can do more of that. And
Yeah,
that's how to dial up your expression and your authenticity. It's about being more you, right?
yeah,
Whatever you, and this
100%.
is such a like a great way to do the inner work when it comes to being visible. Whatever you think at the moment, wherever you are on your journey, whatever you think is too much or something that you should like you that you don't want to show, that you feel resistance around showing online, that's what you want to be showing, because that is
Yeah,
truly who you are, and who you are is good enough, and is what is actually going to make your dream client be magnetized towards you. So amplify who you really are. You don't need to be anything else but yourself,
mhm, yeah,
and do the inner work, do that mindset and that inner work to truly come to a place where you love and accept who you are exactly as you are, so you don't ever feel like you need to be different or to tone down anything. And then you show up like that and watch how people suddenly start paying attention, and just resonating with you so much more because you are showing up as yourself. Like authenticity is such a strong energy that just people feel drawn to, because there's just not enough authenticity in the online space, is there?
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's when the content flows as well, right? Because you're not pushing anything, you're not trying to be somebody else. But that is a gap that I see. Like we had a previous discussion around, luxury and like and obviously my background is really helping clients to get those, like really get paid for the magic that they bring. That's the essence of it. But one of the gaps that I see is that we feel like we have to have something else before we can start really owning what we already, like the power we already have, the way that we already do things. And that's often an external thing. So it may be like I've had clients say, oh, I can't show up on Instagram because my life's not really interesting. I don't, I take my kids to school. I don't go on these fancy holidays. I don't go on a yacht in Dubai or whatever. And the more we go on Instagram and see this, we're kind of creating this story that that's what we need to have. But to your point, we don't, right? The thing that particularly at a premium high price point, the thing that people invest in is certainty and confidence. Like that is it. And yet the branding, I do believe is important. I do think having consistency in how you show up is important. But that is an extra to that confidence in what you bring. And so, firstly, taking off a pedestal the clients that you desire to work with because you can help them right where you are, and then fully owning what it is that you bring to the table. And that is, yeah, a gap that I see so often of like when I have this thing, when I do this, when I do that. And one of the reflections that I give to my clients is I ask them to think about, what are you grateful for today that you a year ago or 2 years ago would have absolutely dreamed of doing? Like, and it can be the smallest thing, but like really come into that energy of the person you are today is doing the things you once thought weren't available or possible for you. And that's what you want to show your clients right now. And just really getting into that place of owning it.
Yeah, 100%. When we're grateful for what we have now, we get more reasons to be grateful, because we, in terms of energy, we're all energetic beings, we're all vibrating at a frequency. We get more of what we are. So when you are like doing what you've just said, you are looking around, what are you grateful for now? Yes, you can still have the dreams of things that you want to bring into your reality, but you can't get what you want without being grateful for what you already have. So yeah, I am absolutely on the same page with you there.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we both want to kind of recognize this place where we're at now, early 2024. There are so many people in the online space putting out content every single day, and I know that for a lot of people it feels so overwhelming because they want to be seen, they want to be heard. How do you advise people to like shut out? What I share is like tune out everything else and tune into yourself. But what's your take on helping people to switch content from feeling heavy to with like coming with ease and just becoming that leader and speaking
Yeah.
your truth on in your content?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good question. So firstly, I think it's about recognizing that what I spoke about before, that choice that you have to create content, and even like really simple things like curating the information that you're taking in, right? We can all be guilty of going on, scrolling, gets into comparison. You start to create these, the beliefs that why should I even bother showing up, right? You get a choice around that. That's when it can feel like you go into this doom scroll, but you get a choice of how you consume content. So curate your Instagram feed to show you only things that inspire and energize you. You don't have to unfollow people, right? I'm not from the camp of let's follow and unfollow, but you can mute and you can, be really intentional with whose content you're taking in. And the same for the amount of time that you're spending actually on social media. Like, I think the first thing is that intentionality of how you are consuming, because that will be then energizing the way you create content as well. And then in terms of what we just talked about you really like being able to block out the noise really happens when you really focus in on who are you and who do you serve. So those foundations of what is the way that you do things? Who do you want to be known as? Like if somebody said about, like you, Jenna, for example, they said, oh, I really feel like I'm stagnant in my business. I'm hitting this ceiling. You want somebody else to say, oh, I know of this lady, Jenna, and she's amazing at this, right? And that's what you want to get so clear on, is who do you want to be known as when you walk into the room or when you're not in the room? And then also, what is a really deep understanding of your ideal client? And I don't just mean the where do they live, are they married, like the demographic stuff. That's fine, but we need to go deeper. So understanding what are their, like the deepest desire that they're not talking about, the thing that they don't want to share necessarily with their friends, but actually that's the thing that is really motivating and feels like this fire inside for them. What are they trying at the moment that is meaning that they're not getting there? And then what is the risk which is holding them back from really going for it? And when you understand those three things, you can really see then how to start linking it to what you do, your offers. And that is, and people feel seen, right? This is what we want to get to in our content. We want to focus less on how do I get through the noise and zone in on the question of how do I make my ideal client feel so seen? Just one person, right? That is when you get this deep level of connection and they feel like, oh my God, she gets it. And if they feel like you get it, they want to work with you then.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long either. I've experienced it. Found somebody, read their content. You get this feeling, don't you, where you're just like, this person knows me, and then you're just like, it's like breadcrumbs, isn't it? You're like a little squirrel, like going finding all the nuts, oh, I'm going to go and listen to their podcast episode. Oh, are they on Threads? Let me go and see them on Threads. I will check out all of their highlights. I'll watch an Instagram live, and you just get this overwhelming, not overwhelming, but really overall feeling of this person gets me. This person is so confident in their mission, what they're doing, who they serve. And like you said earlier, that confidence sells. You feel safe to put your money to them because you feel seen and heard. And subconsciously what's going on there is when that feeling when you're reading somebody's content and it's like, oh my goodness, they're inside my own head. That instantly, I know you probably know this already, but this is for the listeners. When subconsciously, when you get that feeling, what's going on there is that trust is automatically created because they know you. And so you bypassed all of the logical, the intellectual, conscious decision making, and it's gone to this person can help me and I trust them because they know me already. And that's when you get those dream situations where you see people reaching, you see people talking about it in the online space where they get paying full clients in the DMs that they've never heard from before. That happens because the messaging is so clear, and the person creating that content doesn't worry about how noisy it is. They just have really dialed in their messaging to know their ideal clients so well, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good reminder as well that trust isn't always something that you can see through engagement and the likes, and you probably have the same, but I can't, none of my one-to-one clients, one-to-one is the kind of close proximity way to work together, obviously. None of them engaged with my content visibly before they came in to work with me, but they did exactly, and I'm that buyer as well, but they did exactly what you just talked about. They were going through all my stuff, and then when they became clients, now they're engaging and things. And it's just a good reminder that it's, again, flipping the question of not seeing the evidence that somebody trusts you is not solely in the likes and the things which are very visible. It's about those access points that you talked about, where somebody can, like you said, the breadcrumbs of, oh, I get to experience this here. And that experience piece is so important, that people just get to know you more and more, and they already feel like they're in some kind of partnership with you, right, before you've even started to work together. And that's an amazing client experience as well, before they've even become your client.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the authenticity piece comes in, because when you're fully expressed, like, people just feel that connection. They feel that, like I said earlier, authenticity is a really strong energy. They just get it. But also social proof as well. That trust is built through seeing, okay, loads of other people have got really great results. And not necessarily loads, but like, you know, all sorts of different types of social proof, long form, client like interviews if you can, or even just like snippets, but regularly. Like, don't make it a big deal. Just whenever you get a little bit of testimonial, just chuck it out. Like, I've overcome that myself recently. I went on stories and said about it. I was just like, I get social proof every single day in some form or another. And I realized that, like, I would screenshot it and then do nothing with it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Jenny, you're missing such a trick here. Stop making it a big deal. Stop giving yourself a hurdle to jump through where you're like, oh yeah, screenshot this. Now I'll make a post about this later. And I never get round to doing that post. Just screenshot it and chuck it on stories so it gets seen, right? And that is the point. Like, just little nuggets of, like, just like the mindset that I love to have, and I love to share to, like, to my community and things, is whenever you are showing up, you have to, but this is such an easy way to get into your own power and confidence and leadership, is you just imagine that, like, your dream clients are on the verge of DMing you to work with you. And you don't know that because they've never ever engaged. Like, we've both had that behavior before, and some of your clients and everything. That's the lurker game is strong, like I always say that.
Yeah.
And so you show up with that energy, that what I have to say matters. I can help somebody with my story or my post, and like, you're leading with value. But the energy is, I know my stuff, people need to hear what I've got to say, and people are on the verge of working with me. So show up, and like, if you can get your energy and your mindset in that space, you stop giving your power away. You're looking for engagement. Like, F the algorithm. Like, I don't even use the word algorithm because it's so disempowering. I couldn't give a crap about the algorithm. I'm just so in my zone, doing my thing, sharing my value. And, you know, if you are worried about the algorithm, then go and get on some podcasts. That escapes the whole, like, algorithm issue. But anytime you're talking about followers or story views or likes or engagement or algorithm, it's all so disempowering. You are literally giving your power away, and you are leaking energy. Basically, get out of that mindset and into, I'm in my zone of genius, I've got something to say, and one person needs to hear this. Focus on your one dream client that's about to message you, and that's a very, very different energy to show up from, babe.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one thing that links to this as well is that the pressure that we talked about at the beginning of this heaviness of content, or like feeling like you have to show up all the time. And there are a lot of posts that come up, you know, like the one post that made me X amount of money, whatever. And it's never one post, right? You and I know that, but it can be the one post that speaks to that one person. And this is the importance of continuing to show up when you don't necessarily see the evidence yet. It's the momentum which has happened, but it could be that piece of content which is like, right, yes, this is the time that I decide to work with them. So take the pressure off. Like, not every piece of content has to be this amazing work of art. Like, we're not trying to win any kind of prize here, but it's the small piece of content, and your content is like this, like an ecosystem of like, how do you get to, like I said, access you at different points and start treating it more like that way, rather than having it all on this, like, I have to sell from this one story or this one post.
Yeah, that lands so strongly. Like, and the whole, your perception when you're creating content sometimes is a little bit unhelpful. And what came in as you were saying that is, like, I've done so many podcast episodes where I was like, that wasn't my best. But I'm aware, like, I'm a mindset coach, so I'm aware that that is my perception, and that is one perception. And I completely disregard that, because it's like an ego, fear-based thought, as opposed to and aligned. I have a mission and I have a voice and I have something to share. So whenever I feel that, I'm like, well, that's my perception. Let's put it out and see what other people think. Time and time again, I always get great feedback on those episodes that I think are a little bit all over the place. Like it's like, just be aware of the stories that you're telling yourself when you are creating content, and just like you say, take the pressure off. It's the compound effect of showing up time and time and time again and being consistent. And it's so much easier to be consistent when you don't put pressure on yourself. And you just try and have fun with it. Like, that is light energy. Like, content creation for me never feels hard because I never force myself to do it. I just wait. Like, I just implement and embody my higher self system, which is my free lead magnet, and it just feels easy because I do it that way. Just only do it when I'm inspired, and it flows so easily.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you go about, like, if you do you ever feel like you, I mean, first of all, do you content batch, Rachel?
I do, but I haven't always, if I'm honest. So at the beginning, and I've had a couple of businesses before, I didn't content batch at all in those. And that's something that surprises people because I don't always recommend it to clients as well, because some of them they do want that. And it really depends on, the time they've got, the lifestyle, the way they want their business to support their life. And the content batching will really be helpful. Some of them like to have a mix. That's how I do it in my business. I do content batch, but I don't pre-schedule because I like to feel the energy of what do I want to share today? What am I seeing going on with clients, and have that freedom as well. So I have a hybrid.
Yes, I like that as well. I've done it so many times when I've had a post ready and I'm like, no, this is the energy for today. And you just kind of go with your intuition, don't you?
Yeah.
Brilliant. What I think, can you just share with us, what do you think people need to hear most right now? It's like a kind of pearl of wisdom, Rachel. What do people need to hear most right now in the online space?
It's a really good question. I think it's a bit linked. I think they're looking for more vulnerability, but intentional vulnerability. So I don't mean that it's orchestrated, but there is a real difference between sharing what you're still going through, and maybe that's coming from a place of lack of like, so authenticity of, this is me being authentic, but I'm still figuring it out for myself, which cannot always feel like the best for you when you've shared it. It can be like a release, but then you sort of check in and think, actually, this still feels a bit raw. Versus like intentional vulnerability, which is like something that is truly authentic, something you've experienced that shows the reality of you or your business, your life, but is also helping to share the learning that you've taken from that, or the way that you approached it, and is therefore like a real, it's your leadership then as well. And I feel like people would love more of that, because they do want the realness. They do want to see what you're experiencing and how you're moving. But it's also that balance, right, of you being seen as somebody that can help them go through it as well. And that can be shared in so many different ways. But I think your story is something that I see people not leverage effectively. It tends to be this whole like, this is me, I've got a load of new followers, here I am, this is my whole life story. And people are like, cool, that's great. And it's inspiring, but it doesn't take them deep enough into like, what are some of the moments that you've overcome? What are you going through now? Where are you going? Like, really go into the depths of pieces of your story that are like helping your clients to move forwards as well. And that's one of the areas of content I think is really underutilized.
Can you give an example, like in terms of how
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. So I did something recently actually, and I did it on stories about how, so my business, I've been like in coaching now for a year, and in the last 3 months, my business has like really blown up. And it felt like I was doing all of the things, and I come from a corporate background, and I was kind of pushing into that. And actually what I realized my biggest thing to focus on was this identity shift. And this is where what I've been kind of going through as well is this identity shift of allowing myself to be in this like allowing myself to recognize the leadership qualities that I have that I wasn't really showcasing. And I'm being totally vulnerable here, that I wasn't showcasing in my content, and that I was getting reflected back from my one-to-one clients. And I shared that in stories about, I've been going through this shift in identity. And whilst everybody's talking about new year, new you, and this like go, go, go energy for the start of 2024, my start of the year has actually been, I haven't been sleeping so well. I've been taking my time. I've been a bit more laid back. I've been really anchoring into the foundations and how I want the business to go this year. I haven't been really talking about like this big energy move, but that has felt absolutely right for where I am right now. And I know that that's the thing which is moving me forward in the long term. So I was able to share actually what I'd been experiencing that were maybe some more like not the high vibe stuff that we always get shown on Instagram, but that was the stuff I needed to sit with and feel uncomfortable with, that's now going to help me really raise my business for the next year. And I had so many responses to those stories, like my own clients saying, I really love your stories today, which is a great check-in because they're the people that are working with me. But also new people just being like, thank you for like that reminder that it's not always about like reacting to the energy that everybody else is doing right now, but it's really coming back to what do you desire for where your business is going, where your life is going. So yeah, that's an example. I'd already moved through that. I didn't post, oh, I had a really rubbish night's sleep at the time it was happening, but it was like,
yeah.
what can people take away?
Yeah, as I was listening to that, I was like, well, if I was watching that, what subconscious, maybe conscious, but what things are going on, probably subconsciously in your followers' minds as they are consuming that content. And for me, it would be, this person trusts herself because she's not following what everybody else is doing in terms of new year, new me. I have to make a vision board and I have to, set my resolution, whatever it is. No, this person trusts herself to feel into where she is at right now and honoring her needs and where she's at. And she's also a leader because she is articulating this and being like, daring to be different, daring to, I love this phrase, daring to zig when others are zagging. Like she is doing her thing, and that, puts a spotlight on you as a leader. And we decided the title of this episode, hopefully I won't change it by the time it's published, but content feels heavy, how do I get seen? And I think we both agree, if we were to sum that up, it would be a leader, right? If you want to get seen, you have to be a leader, and you have to claim what you want others to see you as for yourself first. And you have to step into that confidence and that energy first. And you cannot create content unless you feel that. And unless you are that already. It's the be, do, have model. You be the person with the energy and the confidence and the leadership, even if you have to sort of adopt an alter ego to do it. You be that person who does the thing, which doing the thing is creating the content, which then gets you the clients that you want. So you have the clients that you want, right? You be it first. So it totally is about being a leader. And
and I think just to quickly pick up on that when I talked about being vulnerable and being courageous as well, is a lot of times we talk about where we've been and where we've come to, like the past, which has happened. And that's really important, right? To show the results, our own transformation. But I think what more people want to see, which really resonates with what you just said, is where are you going? Like, what's the vision? How are you backing yourself? And share that on your content, because you don't actually see the evidence there yet. And that's like really putting yourself out there. But it's like saying, this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm doing in my business, or this is what I'm doing in my life, or these are the beliefs I've had to let go. And that is very activating for people as well, but also comes from that authentic place of, this is what I'm in right now, but I back myself to see it through.
I love that so much. It's like you've got the confidence to dream big, to cast the vision, and then you've got the confidence to speak it out as well, like in your content. Again, it shows leadership, and people like that 100%. They see that for you. They're like, I want to join this person on the journey. She's going somewhere. Let me come along for the ride.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to get people like searching for your stories and searching for your posts like that. So, I've loved this conversation, Rachel. Thank you.
Me too.
Thank you.
Find me. So I'm mainly on Instagram, so you can find me at rachelpearson.co. Always in my DMs. So love having a connection and chat there. And also I have some freebies, which you can, if you've enjoyed this conversation, you can dive into. I have a checklist, which will help you with developing your offers. So you can go and check that out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Rachel. And yeah, see you all on the flip side. I don't know why I've just said that. I never ever say that. I will see you all next week, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Bigger Than You podcast with your host, Jenna Holloway. If this episode has been valuable to you, please share it with a friend or leave a review.